It's a great pleasure today to welcome Janet Hugo, a financial advisor from Sterling Wealth. She's been in the industry for 18 years and during that time has actually won the Financial Advisor of the Year award, which makes her perfectly placed to share with us today her expertise on women and wealth. We all know that we should invest and that watching our money grow is really nice to see. However, we face a lot of challenges along that journey, and some of those challenges are actually very unique to women. So today, we're going to talk about financial literacy, how to save better, how to actually make that investing journey work for you. A lot of these habits are not taught to us, but they benefit us throughout our life. So Janet, let's kick it off. You were a housewife, now a financial advisor, and an exceptionally successful one at that. How did this all transpire?
Gosh, thank you, Siobhan. Let's start at the beginning. I grew up in a family where we didn't talk about death and we didn't talk about money. And that's exactly what financial planning is all about. I remember building up an enormous amount of courage to go to my husband and say to him, listen, we've got 2 little children. What happens if? And my next question from that was, how much is enough? And I'd kind of worked out in my own mind that this was quite a scary place. I was facing the unknown if my husband passed away. And he looked at me as if I was completely daft and showed me a pile of policies in the corner of his office and said, there they are. And he had complete confidence in the policies until I started looking at them and they were in Greek. I had no idea what was going on. So he called in the policy salesman, who then tried to explain to me what was going on, and I still didn't understand. That December, I remember building up an enormous amount of anger because the conversation went around me at the table. It didn't explain or address my concerns. So January came around and we had 2 new policies, dare I say, that my husband was going to sign, and I thought, no, this is rubbish. I haven't understood what is going on yet, and signed up for studying at Free State University and did postgrad diplomas in financial planning. Self-centered, purely to make sure that my family got the right financial advice.
So you took ownership of it and empowered yourself, and by doing that, your family as well. So not only do you have obviously women clients, but you've got families, you've got men, you've probably got children of clients as well that are now your clients. What's the biggest kind of challenge that those women face when managing or managing their money or involved in the family financial affairs?
I think it's twofold. One is financial advisors haven't yet understood their role. And from my perspective, the role of a good financial advisor is to interpret this very complex industry of legal, taxation, investment, and estate planning into the life of the person who's sitting at the table. Women really shouldn't feel that they're not able to ask the difficult questions, because it's quite likely that their partner or husband or children don't know the answers or the questions either. Any question is a good question and should be well received at the table.
Let's dig into a little bit around what is financial success. And I think it's quite different for different people. Financial success for me might be around being financially independent, whereas for someone else it might be just having enough money to retire. What do you see as the biggest drivers of financial success?
It's having a sense of calm that you've put in place everything you need to put in place for your future financial plans. That might be reducing your spending or increasing your savings. It might be that your savings are more than enough if you stop spending on shoes that you don't need. Who's bought high heels in the last year? Let's just get real about this. It's about asking the questions and putting in place a team who are going to help you. And that team is a good financial advisor who's going to interpret the industry into your life. It's good investment managers who've been consistent at what they deliver. It's maybe even good insurance products that are going to help you know that if a terrible event happens, you've got that safety net. A good financial plan is going to encompass a lot of things that you haven't even thought of. Start by asking the questions. Start by building a team that are going to help you. That's a successful plan.
A little while ago at our conference, I spoke to Nazmira, and one of the things that came up was that women are naturally a lot more risk averse than men, and sometimes they steer clear of kind of actually making that investment. There's been numerous studies that have happened which say actually a woman's propensity to invest is around 40% less than a man's. And I think it's also a result of not having the confidence, wanting to know every little how could this go wrong, and not having the right knowledge around it, or feeling like they don't have the right knowledge about it. How do we change this and go about empowering women to actually make the investment?
Nazmira's statistics are spot on, but I've got one that can counter it. When women do investments, they're actually better than men. Once they've taken that step, they stay the course and reap the profits. So women in the investment industry are generally more successful. And when I look at my clients, once they've got through all the nitty-gritty and they've asked all the horrible questions and they've got to a point of confidence that they're making the right decision, they'll wait that decision through the investment cycles and reap the profits. So the other study is that women actually land up making more profits. Yes, they're risk averse, but there's nothing wrong with that. Putting all your money into Bitcoin might not be a great idea. Diversity is the free lunch, and getting the right advice to get that free lunch is all that they have to do. Just ask the question, get the advice, and start. Starting is way better than doing nothing. So yes, get over yourself.
So I get asked, you mentioned financial advisor, and how do I find one? And I often get asked that even at work and by my friends. And one of the questions that came through actually during our conference was, how do I know I've got the right financial advisor? What would your advice be to people looking for a financial advisor?
Great question. So the minimum qualification that I perceive a financial advisor should have is a certified financial planner, or CFP. That means that they're then qualified to talk to you about tax, investments, estate planning, and knowledge around the law that happens with financial planning. A financial advisor who's independent is also important, because if you're talking to somebody who's only allowed to sell you a blue product, for example, is only going to come with a house view that is blue, not green or red. You've got to have a little bit of that fruit salad. We spoke a little bit earlier about having diversity in your portfolio. Diversity of investment thinking is critical to getting the right outcome. It does smooth the risk profile of your investments. So yes, a certified financial planner, an independent financial planner, but more importantly, somebody who's able to speak your language. It's very important that they interpret what's going on in the industry into your life. And you need to be able to have incredibly hard discussions with your financial advisor. They need to uncover truths that you might not be sharing with your partner, or even wanting to share with yourself. So find somebody that you've got the right mix with. And when I say find somebody, don't feel embarrassed about having the first meeting and saying, not for me. We don't speak the same language.
Yeah, I suppose it's just like finding a doctor or someone that's important in your life that you trust, and going with it, and not just going with the first person that comes along, doing a bit of research.
Absolutely.
Janet, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. I'm sure your answers and your guidance have empowered many women out there.
You're so welcome. Thanks, Siobhan.